So we are now going to introduce our speaker, who also lovingly brought those flowers out there. I'll just remind you again. Wes Coons is going to talk to us today on this Mother's Day. He's going to be speaking about a very appropriate topic, unconditional love and loving yourself. Wes Coons is a Reiki master and quantum healing expert whose world headquarters is located in Virginia Beach. His dedication to doing God's work has led him to create a podcast entitled Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. I like that. Wes wrote several books also, including What Color is Your Dragon?, a children's book series teaching youth how to love themselves and look to a higher power for guidance. That's really great. So let's open our hearts and our minds right now to hear the message that Wes is going to bring us on this Mother's Day. Wes?
My name is Wes. I said I wasn't going to cry, but I cry all the damn time these days. But, feeling all the energy of the group, I've connected with the group for a couple days now, and there's a gentleman died a couple streets over yesterday, right in front of the library, right where the bus stop is. He was clearly homeless, and I drove by and I seen him there. The police were there, and like 4 hours later when I came back, he was still there. I'm like, you guys didn't even put a sheet over him. And I would like to say this prayer for him. That, brother, we see you. We see you for who you are. I feel your pain. Just know this, that you are loved, that you are honored, that you are respected, and that you can go to the light when you choose to go, because I know you're still here. I see you. You show yourself to me all morning long. And I want you to know that I have placed angels around you, and Archangel Michael is with you. And when you're ready, brother, you stick your hand out, and they will take you home where you'll be accepted, you'll be forgiven. You've already been forgiven because you are the light. The light that we all seek is in you. I love you, and I see you on the other side. Keenan, that young man is a powerful, powerful young man. You're going to do wonderful things in this life. When I was inquiring about speaking, they had the Mother's Day slot. And I'm like, I want that one. And my mom went to the Lord, 16, 17 years ago. Where's Janaire? Whenever Janaire comes in, my mom comes in for some reason, right? And I love her for that. When a man and a woman come together, and at that moment of conception, I've seen a video where it showed a spark of light, right? Where you see these people argue when life actually happens. I mean, where did that spark of light came from? It was really beautiful. But only a woman has the gift to take an angel from heaven, create a human being, and come out a portal into this life, and to grow and to love and to feel, be happy and be sad. And so on Mother's Day, honoring the sacred woman is my favorite thing. I just want to say thank you, I see you, and I appreciate you. I wanted to talk about unconditional love. And, I had a doctorate's degree in self-hate for a long time. I don't know if anybody can relate with that, right? I wasn't always holy and spiritual. And I'm probably the worst ordained minister in the world, but it is what it is. I like what I do these days. And I went through this crazy spiritual awakening, this haunted house, the exorcisms, just everything I went through. And if you know Lakota One Heart, she saved me. And I never had a relationship with God. I mean, I didn't even know that guy was a Jew. I'm like, I don't even understand what that means when somebody told me that. He's the king of the Jews? How, I don't understand any of that. And Father Munford worked with me one day, and he had me go through this vision. He had me go back to a time in my life when I was a child, when I was about to be molested, right? He said, we're going to heal this for you today. And he took me to that point, and he said, I want you to look around the room and look for Jesus. And I remember being a retired Marine, I probably didn't use the most appropriate language. I remember being so angry at that. I'm like, how can that be real? How can he be real and he let me go through that? Right? How are people starving if that's real? How are people being killed if that's real? And that was my thought. That's what I believed. And as I closed my eyes and I was in that room and I started to look around, and over here on the side there was a picture of Jesus on the wall, and I said, Father, I see him. He said, no, son, I want you to look for him. I remember being so angry. And then when I looked over here in my mind's eye, I seen Jesus looking. And I said, Father, I see him. And he said, what did he say to you? I said, he doesn't have to say anything. And he's like, why is that? I said, because he's crying. See, that's when I understood unconditional love. Jesus wasn't there to pull me out of that room, pull me out of that burning building, take this disease from me. He is there to love me unconditionally through everything that I'm going through and support me no matter what my decision is, no matter what I say, what I do, who I become, or who I don't become. That is unconditional love. To look at me and not have any judgment, not have any criticism, even if he doesn't accept or believe with what I'm doing, he loves and respects me. Now, I might not be riding the Corvette with him, but, he's going to say, hey, buddy, I love you, mean it. But he's not going to be in judgment of me. He is not going to turn around and say, God, that Wes Coons, he just makes me sad. Just like the gentleman that was on the sidewalk yesterday. I mean, for hours and hours just laying there. I'm like, can you put a sheet on him? I mean, he was right there on the curb. That's why I wanted to honor him today, so he could hear our words, hear our prayers, because he still hasn't crossed over to the light. He's thinking about it. Because it's easy to look at somebody on the side of the road and say, look at that homeless guy. What was he doing? Drugs? Was he doing drinking? What was he doing? You know what? He was a son of God. He was a human being. And it was his time. My spiritual awakening happened through a really, really interesting haunted house and paranormal experience. Some of y'all know my story. That's where the podcast came from. I had to get it out of me to heal. And I learned through that process that life happens for me and not to me, and that I don't have to be a victim, and how to shift my energy and how to become the person that I want to become. And I remember when I moved out of that haunted house, there was no way I was going to live next to the Edgar Casey place, right? So I got a real estate company. I could kind of do what I want. I was lucky. I was blessed. I had made good money. And So I was applying for all these places to rent because I sold my house and the market had like 3 homes for sale, so there's nothing to buy. And every door shut except for the one next to the Edgar Casey place on 67th Street. I'm like, are you shitting me? You know, really? Excuse me, sorry. Really? I'm like, I'm not going to live next to those hippies, right? So I moved in there. I didn't realize that place is sacredly protected. There's a bubble that you go through when you get there. Because I felt it when I went there the first time. And somebody had given me a Bible. I was living in that 3-story place. And one thing I learned in the 3-story place, find a bowl on the first floor to put your keys, because you're on the first floor, second floor, third floor, back and forth looking for your keys. It's not fun. But I had this Bible. And I remember I threw it on the table one day. I just literally just threw it open on the table, you know, to impress myself that I actually might read it one time. And I was sitting there having lunch by myself. And I remember saying, if you're real, would you give me a sign? Right? I'm sitting there, and no bolt of lightning, no burning bush, and I happen to grab the Bible and pull it open. And, you know, that had been there for like 3 weeks. I looked down, and Matthew 16 was right there. It says, you know how to interpret the sky, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the times. Only a wicked and adulterous generation will ask for a sign. That book's been there for 3 weeks, bro. I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right. I mean, he loved me so much that he's like, I'm going to give this fool a sign when he's asking for a sign, but I'm not going to give nobody a sign. And you know, in your human mind, you're like, well, is there a second sign? You know, what's the lottery number, right? You know, doing this healing work and working with clients. I'm blessed to have clients. I've worked with people all over the world. I've got people in here that have been on my healing table, and I see miracles all the time. And when I see a mother at the store with her children, raising her children alone because the father's non-existent, doesn't want to pay or whatever, or the little bit of money he pays that he's crying like a child over doesn't nearly cover what the babies need. Watching that woman stand there and love those children and pick those children up and do everything she can and sacrifice everything for them, that's a miracle. You know, that is a miracle. It's a beautiful thing. It just is. You know, I believe that we are here to struggle and not suffer. I believe we suffer when we are not following our divine path. When a butterfly comes out of its cocoon, if I cut that open and help it out, it's going to die because it needs to struggle to get the blood to the wings and to build its muscles. So without struggling, you're never going to become what you're supposed to be. You're never going to become what you came here to be. So when you're struggling, look at that and say, you know what? I'm growing. I grow all the time. It can be painful. But there's beauty in the pain. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how hard that last relationship is, there is growth in there for you, and there's beauty in there for you. So we come here on a soul contract, right? Everything's predetermined up there in heaven. So the first time I heard that, I'm like, so you're telling me that I sat across the table from this dude, and he says, hey, man, I'm going to come in here and do these horrible things to you, And that was part of my contract, and she said yes, and I'm not going to say the words that I said. It took me a moment to maneuver through that, like 6 months. However, I was pissed, bro. I'm like, that's what I agreed to? I'm like, seriously? But if it's a contract, the abuser came in, the victim came in, the thing happened, he goes away, I go away, I have an opportunity to heal or become a victim the rest of my life. And Wes Coons is no victim because I learned how not to be one. So if it's a contract and I'm fulfilling my contract, I'm not really a victim. It is an experience that I signed up for in this life. Maybe that mother signed up for, I'm not going to have a present father figure in my children's life, is a lot better thought than that person abandoned me and walked away and now I'm victimized. Right? I didn't know how to release the energy of being a rape victim until I learned that life happens for me and not to me, and that it was an experience I was supposed to experience. So the book of Wes, this book of what my life is, used to be, he's a little boy that's raped, that can't do all these things because he's not worthy, he's not chosen, he's weak, ugly, stupid, whatever was in that book. That's a lie. That is the story that I believed that some people placed on me, I placed on myself. That is a lie. It is an experience. And when I realized it was an experience, I realized at that time I can rewrite my book. How about rewriting your book that you are powerful, you are gifted, you are loved? Every step you take raises your vibration. Every breath you take heals your body. Right? I love Mother's Day. We would go to my mom's house on Mother's Day and she'd cook homemade henna noodles, right? Like chicken and dumplings. And I'd always go in there and she'd start yelling at you the second you walked in the door because you're reaching there pulling those hot noodles out. But it was fun. I miss those days. You know, I buried my brother last year at 62 years old. Died on Father's Day at the family vacation. My father watched his son die. His sons watched their father die. My nieces and nephews watched their uncles die. My sisters watched their brother die. And thank God I was not there. I don't know what the lessons in that is yet. Maybe it's not my lessons. I don't know. But I got this great idea that, you know, Wes is going to get connected to the family and we're going to do all this stuff and heal the family. And nobody wanted to hear it. They're like, whatever, Uncle Wes. I can't even get them to return my text message. They spread his ashes last weekend, and I chose at the last minute not to go on this river trip to do it. It's not that I didn't love my brother, but I chose me. Because the reality, I was going to go spread the ashes of my brother, who's a total stranger. I've seen him 19 hours out of the last 25 years. To spend time with my other brother that I don't know, to spend time with my nephews that I don't know, that they clearly didn't want me there because they weren't letting me know what was going on. So instead of me going there and allowing myself to be in victim energy, which I knew I would be, because we'd be at the campground and they're going to be over there hanging out and I'm going to sit over here by myself, I thought about that and prayed about that. And I was struggling because my brother Dennis hasn't come to me in spirit. You know, I talk to dead people all the time. And he hasn't shown up. And that whole week I was getting more and more angry, and it's hard to get me angry these days. You know, being in the Marine Corps, I was angry, but not these days. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I just sat up and said, I'm not going. I'm choosing me. I chose to keep my energy sacred, not hide and run, keep my energy sacred. And that morning when I went to the beach, you know what? My brother came to me. And we walked. We walked together for like an hour. And I heard him crystal clear. The point is, had I not chosen me, I would not have had that experience. I don't have guilt and shame for not going to spread my brother's ashes. I got one-on-one time with my brother on the boardwalk. People probably thought I was crazy because I talk openly clear like this. I'm like, But he apologized to me, and I got to apologize to him. And he's like, you don't have to be there. You don't have to check that box. So what box don't you have to check? How about checking the box of, I'm keeping my energy sacred today. We're not going to go to that family function. We're not going to pick up that phone call. I'm going to look in the mirror and see this beautiful person sitting there. Because at the end of the day, is you're beautiful, you're gifted, and you're loved. What do you say to yourself? Right? There's a study that came out not too long ago. I don't know what they did to these mice, but they traumatized these mice. And for 12 generations, as these babies were born, they carried the trauma of the original mouse. 12 generations. As we come here and we're these spiritual beings in these human bodies, some of the stuff that we're carrying could be from great-grandmother, right? Those generational curses will pass down. I've had people on my healing table. I had this one lady. She had pain in her hip right across here and her right shoulder. She says, been there my whole life. Doctor cannot fix it. Had every test in the book. You know how the doctors are so good. Take a pill for this, but that's another story. But she was on the table, getting a healing session with her eyes closed, a little thing on her eyes, and a past life showed itself to me. She was a little girl playing on a train and fell off, and the train had cut those limbs off. And clearly, she had died. So I pulled her in and put the things back where they're at, and I'm blowing energy on it, and finally I could stand her up, and she's in her white dress, and she's smiling, and I hold her up, and I pour out like a water in my palm of my hand. And the second I did that, the client said, oh my gosh, my pain left. That generational, that trauma from a past life carried into this life. So those generational traumas will carry over. I believe we can take those generational traumas and create generational blessings. I believe the greatest gift that we can give our children is showing them that mom and dad can heal, change, become a different person, and learn how to love themselves maybe for the first time ever in their life, because those baby ducks are going to follow behind and follow mom. Right? That's the greatest gift we can give them, is fixing ourselves. When we're on the airplane and the mask drops, it says, put your mask on first, then help the other person. The moms are so loving and caring, and you already understand unconditional love, right? Start putting you first. Start setting boundaries that are appropriate for you to keep your energy sacred. Because at the end of the day, you're beautiful, you're gifted, you're loved. And the stories that you tell yourself are a lie. I'm not good enough. I was the master of, I'm ugly, weak, and stupid. As a child, that's what I was told. That I was weaker than everybody else. I mean, I was 20 years old in the Marine Corps before I realized how big I was. I had this corporal give me a hard time, and my first sergeant calls me in the office and says, Corporal Coons, come here. He said, what is going on? And I gave him some BS story. And he looked at me, he said, you don't know how big you are, do you? I'm like, I used to be in shape back then. I said, what do you mean, First Sergeant? I said, you have to turn sideways to get through my door, and that little man right there is giving you a hard time. I said, you've got a choice. I'm going to court-martial you for being weak, or you're going to go in there and have a confrontation. I'm not going to use the words he said. You got a choice. Go do it right now. And I went there, and I handled my business because I was told I was so weak and insignificant as a child, I believed that at such a deep level. And it's taken me a long time to even consider that I might even be attractive, because I thought I was so ugly my whole life, because I was always told I was ugly. You know, that box was placed on me from somebody else. So who placed a box on you or a cage on you that's not true? Because that is a lie. And we follow these lies so easily because it's what we're used to. You notice how you date the same person over and over? Anybody else done that besides me? No. There's lessons to be learned there. And that person that came into your life that utterly destroyed you, in heaven, actually loved you so much that they agreed to come together on this planet and help you learn these lessons. See, on their chest, everything they said that hurt your feelings, everything they did that broke your heart, is unhealed trauma in you. And they're like, look, I love you so much. Here is the cheat sheet. If he cheated on you, where do you cheat yourself? If he lied to you, where do you lie to yourself? If she betrayed you, where do you betray yourself? If you want to change what's out there, change what's in here. The light that you're looking for is inside you. If I can find this, I wrote this. I said, life was like swimming in a deep well of darkness, always trying to find where the light was coming from, until a reflection showed me that I was the light. If I bring the light, then I must be the light. If God made me, I must have part of God inside me. If I carry the light and I'm part of God, then I must be beautiful, I must be loved, I must be seeking me. My whole life, I went elsewhere seeking answers to unhealed people who didn't know nothing about themselves in the first place. And then I asked so many people the answer, I never really made a decision. Then I was embarrassed because everybody told me something different and I didn't know what to do. I did what I wanted to do anyways, which was a bad decision. And I was a master at bad decisions. I'm just saying. But sometimes when you buy a really cool boat or a sports car, that might not be so bad of a bad decision. Right, Keenan? Take a moment and honor yourself today. Because I have a friend I'm going to go help her after this. She has to have emergency surgery, and she's broken. She's broken right now. She doesn't see what a gift she is. Only a magical being can take a soul from heaven and create a baby. How are you not powerful? How are you not idolized every single day? Where do you not idolize yourself? Right? You see two people equal in everything they've got. Same color, same race, same everything. And this person is vibrating up here and this person's vibrating down there. Is a mindset problem. It's a belief problem. I don't think, at least for me in my journey, that I could have found the belief, found the healing, found myself. And today I love myself. I can honestly say Wesley Coons loves himself today. And that probably happened about 9 months ago, right? that I could really say it. I used to stand in the mirror. Somebody suggested that I stand in the mirror and say that I love myself until I stop crying. That took 20 freaking years, you know, all right? I like to do hard things. You know, I joined the Marine Corps. I did some different things, and I changed that motto as I like to do extraordinary things now that are easy and in alignment with my divine path. Because in my mindset, everything had to be hard. Everything had to be painful. Every relationship was painful because I was the problem. They weren't the problem. I was the problem. Because when I seen the red flags, and I'm like, that girl, she's pretty hot. I'm going to ignore that red flag and ignore that red flag and ignore that red flag. And I'm lonely and I'm sad and I'm broken and they're showing up and, you know, maybe we're going to do drugs, maybe we're going to do alcohol, whatever. You know, I would ignore those red flags and then wonder why I am in the same place I was before. It's not their fault, it's my fault. Because I did not choose me. I did not respect me. So, thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to speak today. I hope I helped you. Before I forget, next Friday or next Saturday, there's flyers in there. There's a holistic fair in Kempsville at my office there. There's going to be lots of healers and stuff, but from 11:30 to 1, I'm doing a barbecue cook-off. We're going to have vegan barbecue. We're going to have regular barbecue. Everything will be gluten-free. And we're raising money for this autistic boy to get braces. His dad is non-existent now, and if he doesn't get the braces now, they're going to have to break his jaw next year to realign things. So we're going to save him that surgery, and we're going to have some amazing food. So thank you for letting me speak.